This week, we dive into the rich history and timeless design of one of Porsche's most iconic models. A car born from the post-war era's desire for speed and style. Like many cars of this era, it wasn't just a car, it was a statement. Either close to stock or highly modified, this timeless beauty enjoyed much success in a variety of racing events. We also see how this car performs at Road Atlanta in a 10-lap time trial and a race against the Sophie AI. This week, we look at the 1956 Porsche 356 GT Carrera Speedster. This is Virtual Gear 4K. A painstaking fusion of lightweight design and raw power, the 356 GT Carrera Speedster attempted to match the trends from the 50s of creating faster cars that looked stylish. Cars that could appeal to both those that wanted more speed and those that wanted a car that their friends and neighbors would drool over. The low, raked windshield was not just designed for aesthetics, but to reduce drag. The simplistic dashboard embodied Porsche's philosophy: less is more. Originally only offered in the coupe model, over time many styles appeared. However, the basic design of the 356 remained the same from its introduction in 1948 until production ended in 1965. Various 4-cam flat-4 engines were used in the 356 over its lifespan, ranging from a 1.1-liter to a 1.5-liter, with the Carrera Speedster using the 1.5-liter engine that produced an estimated 100 horsepower. That allowed the 356 Carrera to approach 100 miles per hour and a 0 to 60 time of just under 14 seconds. If you look at the lap times, you'll see that consistency was an issue for me this time around. However, this car is not a bad car. It takes turn 1 pretty easily. You can see just a little bit of brake. Try to maintain somewhere in the mid-90s. Stay in 4th gear if you can. Go out to the edge of the track. Turn 2 is not too bad, but turn 3, like a lot of cars of this era, well, it gets a little squirrely, as you saw right there. Only once did I really have an issue with it and go into the grass. The S's are pretty straightforward, and because of the horsepower or lack of horsepower, the exit out of the S's really isn't that difficult. Because this car barely has over 100 horsepower, we're not getting a ton of speed on these straights, but that also means we can brake much later, and we can carry more speed into these turns because we don't have to brake nearly as much to get down to speed. Like last week's car, you're going to find that the back straightaway is going to be where this car really suffers. It takes a while to get up to top speed, and that top speed's really not that great. This week we hit a top speed of 115 miles per hour on this back straight, which was slower than last week's car, which only hit 130 miles per hour. However, because of that lower speed, we're able to brake a lot later in this car. We can kind of throw it into these turns. We do use second to come out to very quickly shift up to third. We use second just so we don't bog down going up the hill. We get to rev the engine out, and then we can come down the hill, shift into fourth. We cross the finish line with a time of 1 minute, 43.741 seconds. Unfortunately, that time is not nearly enough to overtake the 1954 Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Coupe from last week's episode. But for now, the 1956 Porsche 356 does get to sit in second place on our leaderboard. Before we talk more about the 356, in regards to the Sophie race, you're going to see the lack of top-end speed against some of the cars from the 60s and 70s really become apparent on the short straight and the big long straightaway. However, we are able to carry more speed into these turns, brake later than a lot of these cars, and that does enable us to at least have a standing chance at getting at a podium. This car had a destiny to redefine what a production car could be. Many believe that because of its design and engineering, that the 356 has a lasting legacy of being one of the most influential sports cars in automotive history. And while it didn't boast the most horsepower or the fastest lap times, this wasn't just a pretty face at the track. The 356 helped carve its name into racing history by setting the standard for Porsche's motorsports dominance. As we make our way onto the back straightaway, you're going to see a theme. Yep, we are getting blown away on the back straightaway. There are a couple cars we're able to keep up with and maybe even pass on the back straightaway, but for the most part, this car is going to make up its time, and I've said this a lot already this episode, but it's going to make up its time with the late braking in the corners, with the speed it can carry through the corners much smoother. You're going to see right here in future laps, you're going to see that spot right there where I'm able to use the Porsche's acceleration to pass cars that really should be beating the hell out of it. And so with that, because of its performance on the track, not just here in Gran Turismo, but also its performance on rally tracks, its performance in other race tracks around the world, whether it was just above stock level or even highly modified, you really get the sense of why this car, why the 356 really set Porsche up for motorsport dominance. And it's something that they did for decades. And frankly, it's because of this 356, the handling of the 356, the lightweightness of it, the power. You know, the power of it, while not very impressive by raw numbers, combine it with its weight, with its handling, really made up for its lack of power. Another thing that really helped it both on the racetrack and off the racetrack was its short chassis. On the racetrack, it gave it a low center of gravity, it gave it, a low wind drag. It did a lot of things to help the car perform better on the track. Off the track, though, it gave a unique silhouette that was easily identifiable. And when you have a car that you can see race on a track somewhere and also see on the road somewhere, it really set this car up for success, and it set it up to be ingrained in the mind of the culture at the time. This car was also able to make a really nice move here. You'll see it in a couple more laps as well, but where we were able to take a little bit off on the entry, but really use the acceleration of going up the hill to make the pass coming out of those turns. It was something that I did multiple times in this race, something that this car had very little issue doing. Now, I kind of overdid it on the last lap to try to get maybe another spot or two. Again, turn one, this thing can go throw itself into turn one and really carry that speed up the hill. Really made it easy for this car to hang with some of these other cars that have a ton of horsepower. Another design feature was the fact that this car featured so much aluminum, or for my friends across the pond, aluminium. Hopefully I said that right, you Brits. Anyways, because this car featured aluminum in a lot of places such as the doors and the rear hood, it made this car as light as possible. And while today that may not sound like a big deal, at the time in the 50s and the 60s, it was a huge deal because cars were made out of steel. That's it, steel. You did have chrome on a lot of cars, but the doors, the body, the frame, everything, steel, just steel. And so the fact that this car had featured so much aluminum or aluminium was really kind of groundbreaking at the time. And it was, again, used to keep this car as light as possible so it could be a sport car. Oh, there goes the Dodge flying by us again, and here comes the judge. Nope, the judge has to brake a little bit earlier than we do. And again, here's that same move. We go in slow, cut it in, use second to go up the hill, get past the Dodge Charger, get into third, and go all the way back down the hill, get it into fourth before the start-finish line. And the nice thing is, because of that section and going into turn one, a lot of these high horsepower cars just couldn't keep up. Again, it has to brake way before I do. I'm able to come into this turn low to mid 90s. This time I was able to keep it into fourth. No, actually, I did downshift it to get a little bit more speed up the hill. Again, this turn was scary every time I went through it. And speaking of chrome, this car, like a lot of cars of its time, had liberal use of chrome on the inside, on the outside. On the inside, it used wood, and it kind of did a contrast of the chrome and wood with the leather interiors. And that's something that I love about this car, and I love about cars of this era. I know it's silly, but I love the use of chrome, especially if you've got a darker colored car. A black car with chrome, to me, looks amazing. The interior with the wood, the wood wheel, the simplistic dashboard, something elegant about its simplicity, and something that, again, is really lacking in today's cars is just that beauty. That, look, I don't want to just be a productive car or a sports car or a performance car, but I also want to look good doing it. You have, every once in a while, you'll have, maybe a little bit here or there where it doesn't look so cookie cutter, but for the most part, I love the chrome. I love the wood interior. I love the leather and the contrast of the leather interior with the chrome, like the chrome trimming around the carpet and stuff like that. Small things. I really, really like that about this era of the cars. And because of all of that, everything we've talked about in this episode, this car is considered a piece of automotive royalty. And every once in a while, you'll see one of these come up for auction. It's rare, but you will. But because of its history, its pedigree, and the fact that it is really automotive royalty, it's easy for these cars to approach seven figures in auctions. Also, there's a reason that Polyphony Digital chose this car to be the first car players drive when they launched Gran Turismo 7 for the first time. It is that important of a car in the grand scheme of automotive history. And by many accounts, the 356 is what started the sports car revolution. This wasn't just a car. It was a symbol of innovation, of speed, of timeless design. And it's a car that, for me, is going to stand the test of time. I want to thank you all for joining me on this episode of Virtual Gear 4K. If you like this episode and this content, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe buttons and leave me a comment. What is your favorite classic car from the 1950s? Oh, and I did mention, right here these last couple of turns, I did make a mistake on the last lap, and here it is. We go in just a little hot, trying to pick up one more spot, get loose, but keep it on the track, and able to finish in 6th place. Again, thank you for watching, and until next time, take care of yourselves and each other, and have a blessed day.